Future Trends is brought to you by the Institute for Economics and Peace.
Welcome to the latest edition of Future Trends, the weekly briefing on the changing face of global politics, economics, development, social and conflict. Here's this week's headline stories. Mediators on standby for obstacles as Gaza ceasefire starts. Number of internally displaced people in Haiti tripled in 2024. Germany's economy shrank for the second consecutive year. To study world leaders, CIA chats with their AI clones. Indonesia's poverty rate at historic low. 3 million years ago, our ancestors were vegetarian. Here's the latest stories in politics. Russia and Iran sign partnership treaty. Russian and Iranian officials say the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Treaty covers all areas, from trade and military cooperation to science, education and culture. The 20-year treaty deepened their partnership in the face of stinging Western sanctions. Mozambique's new president sworn in despite opposition boycott. Daniel Chapo was sworn in at a low-key ceremony in the capital after winning the election with 65% of the votes and defeating opponent Antonio Bila Mondlane, extending the 49-year rule of the Frelimo party. Venezuela restricts diplomats amid election concerns. President Maduro lowered the number of accredited diplomats allowed at the French, Italian and Dutch embassies to 3, as these countries have strongly criticized the Venezuelan government, which was re-elected for the third time. Prison sentence for ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan and wife. A Pakistani court sentenced the country's already imprisoned former Prime Minister to 14 years in jail and his wife to 7 years for corruption in accepting a gift of land in exchange for laundered money when Khan was in power. Khan has denied wrongdoing and insisted since his arrest in 2023 that the charges are a plot by rivals to keep him from returning to office. Raids targeting anti-corruption chief in Hungary. Police in Hungary have raided the offices of the Integrity Authority, a state body that oversees the use of EU funds. The chief prosecutor has announced that its chairman, Ferenc Biro, is suspected of corruption and abuse of authority. Now to updates in conflict. Mediators on standby for obstacles as Gaza ceasefire starts. Qatar and Egypt, which brokered the deal alongside the US, have set up a communications hub to tackle any problems, to head off new clashes in the years-long cycle of war in Gaza. The multi-phase deal will see an initial 6-week ceasefire, during which 33 hostages will be gradually exchanged for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, people displaced from northern Gaza, allowed to return to their homes, and a partial Israeli troop pullback. Number of internally displaced people in Haiti tripled in 2024. Remaining health services in Haiti have collapsed after the rise of the number of people internally displaced by gang violence to more than 1 million. The United Nations International Organization for Migration said. 2 Iranian Supreme Court judges shot dead. Senior judges, Ali Razini and Mohammad Moghisseh, involved in crackdowns on opponents of government since the 1980s, were killed in an apparent assassination in the country's Supreme Court. The attacker killed himself while fleeing the scene. Negotiators close on deal to disarm Syria. A deal over the fate of Kurdish forces in Syria could see some integrated into the new government, and others expelled. The US considers the Kurds key allies against Islamic State. But neighbouring Turkey regards them as a national security threat. Diplomatic and military negotiators from the US, Turkey, Syria, and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces are showing more flexibility than their public statements suggest. ASEAN tells Myanmar military rulers peace should be priority. Myanmar has been in turmoil since early 2021 when its military overthrew the elected civilian government of Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi, turning now to economics. Retailers continue to front-load imports into US ports. The rush to get merchandise into the country is expected to continue due to a combination of the fear of potential tariffs from the new Trump administration and an East Coast port strike. Germany's economy shrank for the second consecutive year. Worried consumers held back on spending, and Chinese competition ate into the country's traditional exports of cars and industrial machinery. Gross domestic product contracted by 0.2% last year, following a 0.3% decline in 2023. The announcement comes weeks ahead of the election in which the economy is the top issue. World Bank approves $20 billion Pakistan package. The lending to the cash-strapped nation over the coming decade will focus on development issues like the impact of climate change, including clean energy and climate resilience, as well as boosting private sector growth. Signs of rising asset quality stress hit Indian bank stocks. Indian banks are facing rising bad loans, particularly in sectors such as microfinance, credit cards, and personal loans. Analysts have attributed this to over-leveraging and an increase in loans outstanding per borrower, stoking investors' fears of a U-turn in the asset quality cycle for the country's banks. UK bans German livestock imports after foot and mouth outbreak. The ban of cattle, pigs, and sheep from Germany followed reports of a case of the disease. Farming Minister Zeichner said the UK would not hesitate to add additional countries to the list if the disease spreads. Moving next to stories in development. The largest risks faced by the world. Climate change and its consequences will pose the greatest risk to the world over the next 10 years, according to more than 900 global experts. With inflation having eased in most parts of the world, misinformation and disinformation is seen as the most severe risk over the next 2 years, ahead of cost of living pressures. Cryptocurrency ATMs are spreading. In order to use a crypto ATM, a person must already have a crypto wallet that can generate a QR code. Selling cryptocurrency through a crypto ATM means swapping it for its current market value in cash or with a debit card. You can also buy cryptocurrency with cash or a debit card at a crypto ATM. Startup City in Kenya, tackling Africa's urbanizing problem. Situated on 5,000 acres, Tattoo City aspires to be what its name suggests. A city, privately owned, that its designers hope will eventually have a population of 250,000. It has little crime, no speeding but CCTV cameras everywhere, and is already home to 88 businesses, employing 15,000 people. To study world leaders, CIA chats with their AI clones. The CIA has developed a chatbot that allows analysts to talk to virtual versions of foreign presidents and PMs who answer back. It's part of the spy agency's drive to improve the tools available to CIA analysts and its officers in the field, and to better understand adversaries' technical advances. Death toll rises to 87 as standoff between police and miners ends. The death toll in a months-long standoff between police and miners, trapped while working illegally in an abandoned gold mine in South Africa, has risen to at least 87, as a rescue operation that has pulled more than 240 survivors out from deep underground was wound down. And finally, latest stories in social. Ants never overtake and could solve urban transport challenges. Ant behavior has inspired various scientific fields because of their ability to solve complex problems. Ants use strategies like platoon formation, steady speed, and no overtaking to avoid jams, even at high densities. Astronomy first. Real-time formation of black hole jets. In 2018, a galaxy about 270 million light-years away from Earth exhibited a major increase in activity. It quieted down again by 2020, only to dramatically increase its output again in 2023. At that time, it began emitting radio waves at 60 times the previous intensity over just a few months, and formation of plasma jets, behavior which has never been monitored in real time for a supermassive black hole. Indonesia's poverty rate at historic low. those living below the poverty line fell to 24.06 million, down from 25.22 million in the previous half year. The poverty rate was at 8.57%, the first time the indicator has ever dropped below 9%, and the lowest in Indonesia since the poverty rate was first announced in 1960. Sierra Leone declares emergency over Mpox outbreak. The West African country has confirmed 2 cases of Mpox, the first since the African Union's health watchdog declared a public health emergency over the growing Mpox outbreak on the continent last year. 3 million years ago, our ancestors were vegetarian. Human ancestors like Australopithecus, which lived around 3.5 million years ago in southern Africa, ate very little to no meat, relying on plant-based diets, according to new research. This conclusion comes from an analysis of nitrogen isotopes in the fossilized tooth enamel,